Welcome to Mi Country Life Safety Week, Day 4. This is Jessica Duran and Kathy Malone, and the topic of the day is Lean and Crisis Prevention. We are going to talk about the 5 whys, and then we are going to talk about cognitive challenges and how to overcome those in your safety program. So let's start.
So I brought back our friendly Toyota house slide, which I think you've seen in 2 of our other webinars. Feel free to go back to our webinars and replay those if you missed them. And what I wanted to focus on here again is people tend to think of lean as efficiency, and efficiency implies get rid of the people or reduce the amount that we have the people do. But the 5 core premises of lean are actually that it's not only the best quality and the lowest cost and takes us the least amount of time to do, but that we also have the best safety and the highest morale. And actually, if you think about that shortest lead time in the dairy farm world, that translates the shortest amount of time it takes us to do the job, which is actually part of having high morale for your people. If we can get the work done in less time with less physical effort and less safety challenges, that's good all the way around. So one of the premises of lean is that when something goes wrong, you ask why 5 times, and then that should get you to the root cause. And an example we have here is you discover coolant leaking from a machine or lubricant leaking from a machine, and you say, why? And the answer might be the seal's damaged. Well, why was the seal damaged? Well, metal shavings got into the lubricating fluid. Well, why did that happen? Screen on a coolant recycling pump was broken. Well, why did that happen? Because it was located in an area where there was likely to be contaminants that got it in the first place. So this lets you actually have a bigger picture kind of look at how we can prevent the problem, because we can talk about, do we need to move the location of this coolant tank? Do we need to not have a screen on it? Do we need to enclose that so we don't get metal shavings in it? Do we need to, one of the things, Jessica, I remember they were talking about with sand in the wastewater treatment plant. How would we maybe ameliorate, how would we prevent as much of that coming in? So 5 whys, go ask yourself 5 whys about why things go wrong and see if you get back to the root cause. Now in the meantime, you want to fix the root cause, but you're also going to fix the immediate cause. You fix the seal of the pump. So now we're going to go into this error proofing and mistake proofing. This part is the easy part in a way. But there are a lot of easy mistakes to make in terms of crisis prevention that you can avoid when you come out of this. So here you see colored blindness. You should see a number in all 6 of these circles. If you don't,
Let us know in the chat.
So 8% of all males and 0.1% of all females are red-green colorblind. And what color, Jessica, do we use to indicate stop-go?
Red.
Red-green.
Red-green, yeah.
What color do we use to say on our charts if it's good or bad?
Red-green.
Red-green. I have had managers in charge of lean who were seriously red-green colorblind. You flip the task card from green to red, they had no idea because it said the same words on both sides. So in anything...
Who chose those colors, Kathy?
We have stop signs in red, green. I don't know. That's a really good question. It really should be like red, yellow, red, blue for stop signs instead of red, green. They didn't ask me. So if you've got anything that's color coded, also either write the words underneath it, or even better is to come up with a different kind of cross hatching or visual. I like for stop, like exclamation points or exploding bombs or something.
And I know that some countries are using figures now or icons to make sure that if you have problems seeing these colors, you can at least see the shape of the color.
Okay. That's a good start. Don't get me started about the OSHA pictograms. We'll get to one of those. What does an exploding thing in the middle of your chest mean in terms of a hazard or an exclamation point? we'll get there in a later podcast. I don't want to put him to sleep today. And then for difficult concepts, I love it if you can come up with a visual way of remembering things. Some of these, there's mnemonics, which is words that you say together that make sense to you. But I remember there's bleach and ammonia and there's some other cleaning chemical, and I could remember that you're not supposed to mix two of, maybe, but I couldn't remember what they were. And then I found this cute little picture of the dead sheep with
not very cute,
the tombstone, and it says bleach and ammonia is bad. I'll never forget it anymore. I don't even have to. I may not even remember what the chemicals are that you're mixing, but I remember that it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and I know that. Well, it's changing, but in the past, there's two chemicals that we usually store in the the chemical room in the dairy farms that you cannot mix, and they have been improving it so you can have two chemicals that if you mix it, nothing will happen. But there's had been some explosions at dairy farm because of that, because the workers didn't know that you couldn't mix those.
And so error proofing would be, we put them in separate cabinets.
Yeah.
Mistake proofing would be what you said. We'd change it so that if someone accidentally mixed them, they didn't blow up. We'd go to a different chemical. Mm-hmm. And then we get to one of my favorites, fatigue. OSHA actually has a whole page on its website. Now, OSHA, Safety and Administration, about being tired. Well, they've figured out that being tired is worse for you than being drunk in terms of your ability to perform on the job. This is not permission to come to the job drunk. And even worse is it's cumulative and you don't realize it's cumulative. They've now listed third shift work. With the World Health Organization, WHO, has actually listed third shift work as a possible human carcinogen because they've proven the effects of it are so disruptive to your sleep. So I wound up with COVID, essential worker, doing night shifts and weird shifts, like mixed shifts. Some of them were night shifts, but then some of them were different time of night. Some of them were day shifts. And I plead guilty to starting the coffee without putting the coffee pot underneath it. And I can tell you about 8 other ways I've made coffee wrong when I was tired, I've made coffee. They say, you live 30,000 days in your lifetime or something like that. I've probably made 20,000 pots of coffee.
Yeah, you forget everything. This morning I was so tired that I forgot my zip code and I couldn't use my credit card. But can you imagine if it's like I forgot to close the gates and the cows got out and now we have to find them, or something worse?
And this is where mistake proofing and error proofing are your friends, and also checklists, which we'll cover on a later podcast. If you just have a checklist posted on the side of your coffee pot, have I done that yet? No. That's the order. Well, to be honest, partly is because I keep changing the order I do it. I'm a relentless continuous improvement person. But
like a good lean practitioner.
Yes, but really simple checklists in places where people are likely to be doing things. So the more that we can build those kinds of things with some error proofing and mistake proofing built in, because most of us are tired most of the time. The stats on chronic fatigue are amazing, and especially at farms, even more so, especially in winter.
Yeah, and with 12-hour shifts, it's not gonna be tired.
I remember last winter, I don't remember what I did wrong at my deli cleaning job. And I said to the manager, I lost 10 hours this week plowing snow. I didn't have that much extra time built into my schedule. I had no way to catch up that 10 hours of sleep. Another one is adrenaline-induced stress. This may be one that you've never heard of, and this could save your life. This could save you and your family's life. This is from a guy, Lieutenant Colonel Jack Grossman, who's one of the experts on emergency response, especially workplace violence. And he came out of the military. He trains every police force and every agency in the U.S. government. But what he says and what they found is the science is that when you really get under adrenaline, when you really hit a crisis and you're really panicked, or in a state of high arousal, there are some actual physical things that happen to your body. You lose your ability to focus your eyes, and you lose your ability for manual dexterity. The blood goes out of your fingertips because it's getting ready for you to be able to run. And so every time you change your batteries in your smoke alarm, actually put your phone on airplane mode and dial 911 half a dozen times so that you have that muscle memory built in. He had examples in the book of people who dialed 611 because that's what they were used to dialing for information, or forgot they were at the office and forgot that they had to dial in 9 before they dialed 911, and they kept dialing and dialing and dialing and they never got out. So this is one of the ones that I had never heard of until a year ago, and he made that recommendation. And of course, I'm one of the people, when I pass a crash, I call 911 to see if they've gotten it. So I've been doing that. But if you haven't dialed 911 from the phone you're using right now, take some time and do that, because that's a big one. Then we get to checklist can save you. And this is an example of the little card we talked about in our first webinar, second webinar, with the rosy one with the training within industry. And these actually were physical cards that people would put in their shirt pocket. They were actually sized to a 3x5 card, so it would fit in your shirt pocket. And back when I started in the Mile Square Auto Plant, where we cast engine blocks on one end and drove cars off the other end and did everything in between, we would teach our spill response training across all 3 shifts once a year. And we would hand out 5,000 of these things, the little 3x5 cards. And on one side was the process, and on the other side was the location of the response equipment. And you would see these things, they would be posted on bulletin boards, they would be underneath the glass front of people's desks. And as a result, when you needed to refer to the process, chances were pretty good that one of those silly little cards was somewhere nearby. Yeah. One of my rules, there are a lot of rule number 2s at the horse farm. There are no rule number 1s. And one of the rule number 2s is drive in the tracks. And we mean that both literally and figuratively at the farm. You want to drive in the tracks the tractor has been driving, even though they're deep and rutted and muddy, because what you're doing, if you've ever had to dig those up to get to a broken water line, which I have, you will find that where the tractor tires were, it is compacted down a good 18 inches or 2 feet that you now get to dig through by hand. I did that on Christmas Eve one day. But not only figuratively, it's one of those that if you don't know why that's why we drive that way, don't do something else, because there might be a manure pit, an old manure pit that you're going to go through and tip your tractor and die. And so the drive in the tracks is until you understand why we do something, don't change it. We love suggestions for ways to improve things. We love questions, but ask before you do it, not after. And the times that people are most likely to get hurt are their first time on the job and the first time in a new job.
Thanks for listening, and stay safe.